What's up, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of the Sitdown. As always, if you enjoy this video, please make sure you hit the like button and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Also, if you're new around here, you just haven't done it yet, or you're living under a rock, I don't know what you're waiting for. Hit that subscribe button now so you never miss another sit-down video. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get in to another Mafia topic. And over the years in the world of American Cosa Nostra, the father-son duo has been prevalent. The Gottis, the Franzises, the Persicos. There have been many sons that have followed their fathers into the world of the Mafia. Today, we are going to talk about arguably the most violent father and son duo to ever grace the five families. Gerard Papa and his son, John Papa. The story of the Papas next on Sitdown Shorts. Gerard Papa was born in 1943 in the Bensonhurst neighborhood, or the Brooklyn neighborhood of Bensonhurst. Growing up, it was evident that Gerard Papa had possibly personality disorders. He was described early as a complete lunatic. Growing up, he would run with the infamous group, the Rampers, alongside mob rat Sammy Gravano. It was argued that Gerard Papa was one of the more dangerous individuals in Bensonhurst. He was getting involved with burglaries, robberies, stick-ups, bank robberies, anything he could do to make money with the Rampers. Gerard Papa was there. And one thing he did best was killing people. He was said to be a tremendous street fighter and a fierce killer. One individual would regard Gerard Papa as the baddest of the bad in Bensonhurst. Gerard Papa would grow up under the tutelage of an individual in the Genovese family, a copper regime in Brooklyn called Dominic Swaggy Carlucci. Carlucci was known to have a social club on Utrecht Avenue in Brooklyn, and Papa would run the streets. The problem Gerard Papa would ultimately have is eventually he would get his button and he would turn into even more violent. It was estimated by the police in New York City that at one point, Gerard Papa was a possible suspect in up to 40 murders. 40 different murders. He was a major killer. He was a major problem. And at this point, he had began to go off the deep end. Gerard Papa was killing people. He was not told to kill. He wasn't getting in line. And that started to anger Genovese heavyweight Vincent Gigante. Eventually in the Mafia, if you do not get in line and run off the mouth cold-cocked and start killing people you're not supposed to, the mob's brass will eliminate you. Look at over the years, Joey Gallo, Mad Sam DiStefano, Carmine Galanti, all people that didn't shut the fuck up and do what they were told. Gerard Papa was another one of those people. And in 1980, as he sat in a diner in Brooklyn, two individuals would walk in that day and kill Gerard Papa on the spot. According to witnesses, one waitress was taken into the kitchen and handcuffed to a counter. At that point, at Villa 66 on 14th and 66th in Brooklyn, Gerard Papa died that day. And that was that. Years later, it was alleged by the federal government that this individual, Ronald Ronnie Mozzarella Carlucci, the nephew of Dom Carlucci, would hire two hitters, associates for the Bonanno crime family, Dominic Rea and Enrico Gentile, to carry out the hit. Ultimately, Rea and his cohorts were brought to justice on this murder. It was evident Gerard Papa had to go, but in 1974, Mr. Papa would father a son. On July 19th, 1974, son John was born. And after Gerard Papa was killed, John Papa was 5 years old. His mother would move her and her son to the area of Monmouth County known as Homedale. It was pretty far from New York, and she felt she could house her son there, and hopefully he could have a better life than his gangster father. It was said that growing up, John Papa was a great student. He enjoyed sports, and by all accounts, He was going to escape that life. But for whatever reason, John Papa wanted to be like Dad, a ruthless killer who preyed upon people in the streets of New York. In his early teens and late teens, John Papa was regularly hanging out in Brooklyn and Staten Island. And according to one witness, he just could not stay away. He also would eventually get a tattoo of his father. Above it, it would say Papa Bear. John Papa wanted to be like his father, and that's exactly what he did. He would ultimately head back to New York and somewhat be desperate for acceptance. He wanted to be in the Mafia. He didn't care that he'd killed his father. He didn't care that his mother's life had been ruined due to his father's behavior. John Papa wanted to be a gangster. So what he would do is weirdly try to gain acceptance through this individual, James Froggy Guyone. Guyone was a narcotics pusher that had connections to the Lucchese crime family. And there's an interesting connection between Galeone and John Papa. It is alleged by the government that John Papa's father, Gerard, actually was the trigger man of Froggy Guyone's father, Ralph Guyone. If we remember, Ralph Guyone was an individual involved with the hit on James McBratney inside Snoopy's bar in Staten Island with John Gotti and Angelo Ruggiero. And wildly, why would John Papa go and try to get in with Froggy's crew? Froggy said, fuck no, he's not going to be a part of our crew. And he continued, John Papa, to search for acceptance. Eventually, he would start slotting in the crew in a Colombo family cohort of Anthony Russo and Francis B.F. Guerra. As we know, and as I discussed in a previous video, high up in the Colombo family, Teddy Persico was in prison. In 1993, Persico's grandmother would die, and he would get a state letter allowing him to attend the funeral in Dyker Heights, Brooklyn. At the funeral, he would find a way to elicit the services of Russo and other members of the Colombo family to kill heavyweight in the Colombo family, Joseph Scopo. Now, Scopo was a backer of Victor Arena, and Persico wanted the heavyweight Scopo dead. He would anchor and utter the words, Joey has to go. You've got to kill Joey. Get it done. And that's exactly what Anthony Russo would ultimately do. He would call on, absolutely desperate, John Papa, who he knew was hungry and could likely get the murder done. As we see in this picture, John Papa was a kid. He was in his teens at this point, but that would not stop him from killing Joe Scopo. On the morning of October 20th, 1994, Joseph Scopo, alongside two associates, pulled up to his home in Ozone Park, Queens. At that point, John Papa, Joey Sparacino, and other associate Eric Curcio would litter his car with semi-automatic gunfire. Wildly enough, Joe Scopo would not be hit, and they would sprawl and run out of the car towards the home. Little did Scopo know that the individual, John Papa, was hiding in a bush. At that point, Joe Scopo spurned out of control and yelled, "You've got balls. Come on, come on. You need to kill me. Kill me, you little punk." At that point, as he laid on the ground, John Papa popped 8 bullets into Joey Scopo. They would leave and get away. For John Papa, though, this is what he thought would get him his bones. He wanted to be made member of the Colombo crime family. In 1994, this individual, Carmine Gargano. Now, by all accounts, Carmine Gargano was an innocent individual. Gargano was known to be a good kid. He came from a good Italian family. He was in college. The only crime that Carmine Gargano committed was that he was cousins with an individual called Anthony Del Vecchia. Del Vecchia had a beef with John Papa. At one point, John Papa would tell a Lucchese associate, Ronald Moran, quote, "If I can't get to Del Vecchia, I'll just kill his cousin." That's exactly what John Papa would do. Allegedly, he and a cohort would kill Carmine Gargano in 1994. And for years, people had wondered who killed this guy. This is a guy that, by all accounts, was not connected to the mob. Ronald Moran would ultimately testify that John Papa told him, quote, "It's done. Carmine's gone. Quote, they'll never find his body." They never found his body. The problem for John Papa was ultimately Ronald Moran would testify against the baby-faced assassin. It wouldn't stop there, though, for John Papa. Like Dad, he very much wanted to grow his stature as a mob killer. The problem that John Papa had was he was indeed a hothead like his father. And eventually, Joey Sparacino and Eric Curcio started talking subversive. One night at a buddy's home, Sparacino started talking subversive about John Papa. Quote, "These guys ain't shit. They think they're a bunch of tough guys. They're a bunch of punks." Now, Papa was out of the room at that point, but an associate after the fact would walk up to Papa and tell him what Sparacino said. That wasn't going to go down. John Papa was furious. At one point, he would say, quote, "That motherfucker, I'm going to rip his heart out." That's exactly what he did. He would lure Sparacino to a home in Brooklyn and kill his friend in broad daylight. It also wouldn't stop there. Eventually, Eric Curcio would start talking subversive as well, and John Papa had him lured to his Red Hook mechanic shop and murdered him as well. John Papa not only killed him, cohorts that he was asked to kill, but he was also going off cold-cocked and killing friends that, in his opinion, were talking about him. These were friends of his. Remember, these weren't just random people. Also, in 1994, he was going off cold-cocked at other things as well. There's one thing you do not do in mob circles, and one thing you don't do is shoot up topless bars belonging to members of the Mafia. It was alleged that at one point in 1994, John Papa, alongside an associate, shot up a topless bar in Staten Island owned by Bonanno heavyweight Anthony T.G. Graziano. Now, Graziano was absolutely furious and wanted Papa and that associate killed. Cooler heads would prevail, and ultimately the Colombo crime family would stand up for John Papa. The problem for John Papa, though, was he was not getting his button, and he started continuously to go off crazy. Eventually, though, in September of 1997, it would all come undone for John Papa. The feds were building a case not only against him, but other members of the Mafia. Now, ex-NYPD detective Tommy Dades would talk about in multiple interviews that on that day, September of 1997, John Papa was actually on the way to a wedding in Brooklyn of the brother of Joey Sparacino, Salvatore. He was in the groom's party, and they knew that if they followed him, they could catch him as he walked up the steps of the church. And Dades would talk about the fact that they went right at John Papa. At one point, they had urged John Papa, as he went on the knee, to drop a gun, and they eventually would arrest John Papa in front of the church. At one point, Dades would discuss that Salvatore Sparacino, the groom, would claim in an expletive matter, "What the fuck are you doing? Show some respect." At that point in handcuffs, Dades tells Sparacino, quote, "What the fuck do you care? This guy killed your brother." And at that point, everybody knew what was going on. And the wedding, as far as I know, went on like normal. For John Papa, this was the end. In the late 90s, John Papa, at 24 years old, would be convicted and sentenced to 4 life sentences plus 45 years. He currently resides at FCI Edgefield in South Carolina. Now, over the years, pictures like this have popped up of John Papa. We have to remember, John Papa wasn't even 25 years old by the time he was convicted. He was committing murders in his late teens, early 20s. He's arguably one of the more crazy lunatics of the 90s. And this anchors a real time in the mob, really, whether it was the John Papa group or the Tanglewood Boys or the Cafe Giannini crew or whoever. These young groups terrorized the streets of New York. And I got to be honest, there may not be any bigger lunatic in those groups than John Papa. Like father, like son. John Papa's continued to pop up in different photos. At one point, he was photographed at FCI Terre Haute in Indiana alongside mob killers like Tommy Patera, Tommy Reynolds, and Joey Testa. We could agree, John Papa will die in prison, but he still holds that oath tight. He could have been a good kid. He could have been an individual that had success in his life, but he wanted to be like his father too much. Two individuals that went out in similar ways. One in a body bag, the other someone who will die in federal prison. And to be fair, the streets are safer without the Papas on them. As always, if you enjoy this video, I urge you, hit the like button and make sure you subscribe. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time here on the Sit Down.